the summers I spent here. My stomach growled at the thought of food. I'd barely eaten any breakfast, and it was now 4 in the afternoon. Since the cupboards were definitely bare, I was going to have to hit the grocery store. I'd had thoughts of touring the orchard, but that could wait until morning. Miller's Grocery Emporium was located on the east end of the main street running through Orchardville. It leaned heavily on the Emporium part of its name. Groceries were only a small part of the inventory. It carried everything from auto supplies to toys. There was even a section filled with bins of loose candy that you could bag and buy by the pound. It had been my favorite thing to do when I'd gone shopping with Grandma. The only changes I could see were vinyl flooring in place of the old scuffed linoleum and plastic grocery carts instead of metal ones. I took one of the carts and headed to the bread aisle.
Well, if it isn't little Katie Driscoll.
I turned at the familiar voice behind me and smiled. It's Kate Mulligan now.
You're all grown up, but I'd recognize that blonde ponytail anywhere.
Rudy Miller gave me a big grin. And I'd recognize that blue apron anywhere. Other than being 20 years older, Rudy hadn't changed much. He still had a full head of gray hair and wore wire-rimmed glasses. I waved my hand in the air. This place looks exactly how I remember it. I'm glad it's the same.
Why mess with perfection?
Rudy stopped smiling and patted my arm.
I'm sorry about your uncle. Stan was a good man, and I'm glad he left his place to you.
Thanks.
I heard about what happened to you, about your accident.
You did? How?
Stan, Rudy said. He kept track. He always had a soft spot for you. He might have forgotten where he lived and what day it was sometimes, but he never forgot you.
My eyes filled with tears. I didn't know that. Rudy patted my arm again.
Everything will be okay. You're home now, Katie, right where you belong. If you need anything at all, you let me or Ruth know.
I nodded. I couldn't speak. I was afraid that if I did, I wouldn't be able to shut off the tears. His kind smile returned.
How about we get that cart filled up?
Rudy insisted on helping me shop. It was a good thing he did, because he kept adding items that I hadn't even thought about. When I finally checked out, he insisted it was all on the house. He refused to hear my protests. I gave in and promised to have him and his wife Ruth over for dinner once I got settled. By the time I returned to the house, put everything away, and got myself something to eat, I was exhausted and ached all over. Long days like this reminded me what I'd been through. Not that I needed a reminder. The accident and Brian were never far from my mind. Except for my suitcase, the few belongings I'd brought with me were still in the back of my Highlander. I went outside and retrieved a box I'd marked, "Important, unpack first," and took it up to the same bedroom I'd spent all those summers in. The old double bed had seemed huge to me back then, but it seemed so tiny now. I sat on the unmade bed, opened the box, and took out the framed photograph on top. Our wedding photo. We had been so happy. I touched Brian's face. "I miss you so much," I whispered. "I hope I'm doing the right thing." I could almost hear him telling me not to worry, that everything would be all right. He'd tell me this was meant to be, that inheriting an orchard was fate, and I'd now get to open the cider house I'd always dreamed of. We had dreamed of, I corrected him in my thoughts. It was what we had planned to do someday.
"Well, someday is now, babe," he'd say.
"But you won't be here for it. It's not fair." I wiped tears from my eyes with my t-shirt. It wasn't fair, but I'd make the best of it. This was my new home, a fresh start. I put the photo on top of the dresser and pulled the new package of sheets out of the box. Once I had the bed made up, I brushed my teeth and popped a couple of ibuprofen. I fell asleep almost instantly. After breakfast the next morning, I pulled on a fleece jacket and picked up my cane that I'd parked by the front door. After months and months of physical therapy, I didn't really need to use